Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm Gary Cohen, Senior Editor of Industrial Cybersecurity Pulse, a new site dedicated to providing critical information and solutions for cybersecurity professionals working in industrial environments. Joining us again today is Pranav Patel, CEO of ResiliAnt, an industrial cybersecurity brand, and MetaTechSafe, a healthcare cybersecurity brand. Pranav has also held multiple executive leadership roles with companies like GE and Siemens, so he'll provide great insight. Pranav, thanks so much for being with us today and welcome.
Glad to be here, Gary.
So the last time we talked, we discussed the topic of cybersecurity maturity. Thinking about it a little bit further, it seems like a change in approach for many organizations. Is that right?
Yes, it is a change in approach. It's a paradigm shift for many companies. If you see how cybersecurity is managed today in an organization, you have this pyramid. And on top of it, you have information security or IT teams that's in control. They manage network, access, monitor anomalies, decide endpoint security practices, including what software can be allowed. And they all have a variety of technical tools or processes at their disposal. And they've done a great job till now in keeping our environment a bit more secure. But that approach is coming to a point of a diminishing return, especially when we think about all the incidents originating from, let's say, a variety of human factors, such as misuse, error, theft, becoming victim of a social engineering scheme. And this represents a lion's share, about 72+%. Not a small thing. So, the result is very simple. NIST and other standards or guidance are suggesting companies to take a broader approach to cybersecurity. And now they're having organizations to focus on processes and policies that cut across and span across multiple functions, such as operations, HR, physical security, sourcing, legal. See, this is way beyond the involvement of a single information technology or information security function. So what's needed is really flipping the pyramid where everybody is involved in cybersecurity. And today, with the digital transformation, all business processes have some aspects of cybersecurity implications, if you will. And as a result, people from different functions own different aspects of cybersecurity relevant to the business processes, and they're held accountable for it, or they can be held accountable for it. So now that central IT team that was controlling, it's actually playing a role of coordinating and facilitating. And that's a change.
So to do this right, it seems like it would require a big change management effort. So how does that work in practice?
And exactly right. It's a big change management effort, if you will, because it's no longer about single function. It's cross-functional. And I take an analogy of quality systems. If we ask companies and say, who's responsible for quality? They will say, engineering, operations, sourcing, etc. So it's cross-functional, it's part of the culture, it's championed by an influential leader such as COO, if you will, and it's become a business matrix in many ways. But this cross-functional engagement isn't easy. It's really, really hard stuff. So think about today. Today, a tech vendor can come up with a point solution for a use case, and it gets sold to a techie. He or she can make a decision entirely by him or herself. Point being is within that same function, if you will. But if you look at the study that's been done by Accenture, Ponemon Institute, what it shows you is a significant misalignment between where the money is spent versus the value and risk management. And the reason is very simple, that one individual or a function may not know all business processes, the intricacy of those business processes, the risk and the impact that it can have. So, what you need is a change in that as well. Rather than systems and products getting sold, now requirements will be identified from the organization, from the business processes, risk that you would see, with a cybersecurity mindset, if you will. And those leaders, cross-functional leaders, will also be involved in making decisions. So now the value from a risk management perspective could be extracted much more than, let's say, was traditionally being done, right? So in other words, what companies need to do is take a programmatic approach and have a steering committee to drive that change management, if you will, because now you want to bring that engagement. And then also tie it with the board of directors risk oversight process, because boards held accountable for that as well. And that's the change of paradigm shift in many ways that I'm thinking about.
While cybersecurity is your area of expertise, it's not exactly an area that everybody in an organization is going to say they want to be a part of. And it obviously requires buy-in across an organization to be effective. So how do you get that engagement?
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, as soon as you talk about cybersecurity, they'll point you straight to the technical team. You know, but just like any other change process, you'd have to show them how it impacts them. And in fact, you can start it from the top. So let's take an example. You know, a cyber attack in a small to mid-sized manufacturing firm would cost them about 7% of their annual revenue. Now, most of the companies' operating profit fall within that range. So in other words, if you're saying if you got hit by a cyber attack, you're probably wiping out your whole year's operating profit, let alone all the brand impact that you'll face, because, you know, who likes to do a business with a company that's got breached or operations got disrupted, so on and so forth. Now take a level down, you know, let's say you're looking to add a new printed circuit board manufacturing line, just for the purposes of really understanding the concept. Now that PCB line would have SMT machine, through-hole technology system, would have X-ray for inspection, we'll have wave soldering, in-circuit test, burn-in test, functional test, and all these systems are connected. Your OT systems are very well connected. So our analytics would say the life cycle cost of this capital purchase would increase all the way up to 20% or even more because of the cybersecurity consideration. Now, this is a substantial cost, because if you go to your ops team and sourcing team, they're fighting annually for material cost productivity, operational cost productivity, capital cost productivity, and they're fighting for 1%, 2%. Now you're talking about 20%. That's huge, right? So now when you start to have that conversation, all of a sudden, the matrix like this gets them engaged. Now, that obviously requires a different type of leadership and a communication skill to drive a change, right? So imagine telling an operating leader about how we need to put a honeypot, for example, in an industrial company. Their head would be spinning for a minute. But because these leaders are sufficiently scared, they'll likely approve it. The approval doesn't necessarily mean engagement, though, right? Engagement provides benefit of partnership and ongoing support. Approval means, okay, got it. You guys go ahead and take care. So approach to cybersecurity has to change. It requires championship from CEO, CFO, rather than just only the CIO. It needs more programmatic approach. And then the focus has to be on maturity in addition to the breadth of controls, if you will. So now you're changing that pyramid and really making part of your DNA. And now you're not having to worry about what cybersecurity is. Everybody knows it, right? But that's not approach that's often been seen, but that's what the role is getting towards, or has to get towards, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, if everybody's not rowing in the same direction on this, I assume it's hard to achieve real cybersecurity.
Absolutely. You got it.
Well, thanks so much for being with us today and providing us this information. It's always great to talk to you, Pranav.
It's fantastic to be here, Gary.
For more great information on industrial cybersecurity, please check us out at industrialcybersecuritypulse.com. And as always, check back with us frequently for more installments from our CEO Expert video series. Thanks so much for watching today. I'm Gary Cohen from Industrial Cybersecurity Pulse. Thanks for joining us.